Commercials are great and they have their place, but content's different. A content strategy helps other people get better. You may say, well, our school helps people get better, so we got to talk about it all over our YouTube page. No, your content is not the product. Your content is the bait to interest people in discovering your product. So your content needs to make a light bulb go off in someone's head or spike their dopamine in some way, like maybe that's entertaining them or making them laugh. Leave them with something useful that they can remember or that's worth sharing with others. Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast on the EdUp Experience Podcast Network. This is a show dedicated to helping higher ed marketers tell better stories, create better content, and enroll more students. My name's John Azoni. I'm the founder at Unveiled, and we're a video production company working specifically with college marketing teams to make it easy for them to scale up and even automate their student and alumni success stories through our subscription approach. And you can learn more about that at unveiled.tv, and that's UNVEILD.tv. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you. And if you're wanting your college and university's content to resonate on a deeper emotional level with prospective students, with alumni, with parents, whatever, I want you to subscribe to my free newsletter. Every week I send out tips and insights on creating more emotionally resonant content, including examples and best practices from other institutions, articles and blog posts, that week's podcast episode, and much more. So head over to unveiled.tv/newsletter and sign up. All right, let's get on with the show. Welcome to this episode. This is a solo episode this week, and we're going to talk about a lot of good stuff regarding content creation, but I wanted to give you a couple housekeeping items before we hop in here. Number one is the podcast is moving to it has moved to an every other week format. Here's the thing. It's a lot of work to keep up with the podcast every single week. We're a small team over here at Unveiled, and so I'm wearing a lot of hats, and I love doing the podcast. It's one of my favorite things about the work that we do. And if I could just do the podcast and write the newsletter and stuff like that would be super fun. I'd be happy with that. But I do also need to make videos for clients, and I enjoy that as well. So we're moving down to every other week format, and that's going to give me more time to promote each episode, lean into each episode a little more. And on that note, just a little word of encouragement, quality over quantity, folks. Like, you don't need to continually pepper the internet with a constant barrage of content. Take some time, just post less. I'm in this group. It's like a cohort for content repurposing, and it's called Distribution First. It's a really cool content repurposing community. And the big thing is, like, do less, but just do more with the less stuff that you did. Get more use out of less stuff. And that's kind of the running thread in that community. And we talk a lot about how to do that. So in that spirit, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do half as much episodes on this podcast, but do more with each episode, repurpose more, things like that. So, if you want to join me in doing that on your own content, you know what? Don't post that reel today. It's fine. You're going to be fine. Grab a coffee. Enjoy the birds chirping. Enjoy the nice sunny weather. You're fine. We're all on this big rock called Earth. When you zoom out, none of this is that important. We're just on a big spinning rock that's spinning around the sun. Life will go on with or without that LinkedIn post or that reel or that TikTok that you feel pressure to get up today. So that's my word of encouragement for you. But the other thing I wanted to mention is a live webinar coming up June 27th with Rob Clark. Rob is the main creator behind That Tall Family. It's gone viral many times. And he's been on this podcast earlier in the episode, and he's been on a lot of other higher ed podcasts too, but he's got him and his family are they're all very tall, and so they make fun videos about being tall, but then they also do other like, trending sounds and this stuff that you do in growing, a TikTok Reels shorts kind of community. He's got 3.8 million followers across all the short form video channels, over 4 billion views. And he works in higher ed. He works for Greenville University. And so we're going to be talking about mastering the art of TikTok, Reels, and Shorts for higher ed specifically. So if you want to learn about that stuff, if you got questions, if you're maybe on the fence about getting into one of these platforms, how to do it, how to build systems around how to do it, what kind of stuff to create, if you're just a little bit kind of in the weeds about how to implement this stuff for your school, this is the perfect way to get up to speed on that. We're going to answer everyone's questions. We're going to give you a presentation about what's working, what's not working, how to get the most out of your content, all that stuff. And then also, what I like to go to webinars for is the chat. You'll see me in a lot of higher ed webinars, and the main purpose I'm there is just to network with other people in the chat, because I've built some really good relationships with people that I've just met in the chat at webinars, and people are very open to connecting with one another. It's a very communal kind of experience when you're all learning this thing together. So I would encourage you, if nothing else, just come for the chat. Come hang out. Come drop your LinkedIn profile link or wherever you want people to follow you at. Don't spam the chat, but come on. Let's get you some new friends here. Okay, so that's June 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, and hope to see you there. You can register at let me pull it up here on my crowdcast.io/c/short form video, all one word. That's crowdcast.io/c/short form video, and I'll put the link to in the show notes. All right, on with the episode. So I've been doing a lot of research for an upcoming presentation on what's working in higher ed video. So I'm freshly steeped in all of your videos, assuming that you're listening, you represent a college or a university or something like that. I've watched a lot of your videos. There's a lot of great ones. I'm very encouraged to see what some of these schools have been doing. And I've just spent days kind of just pouring through different TikToks and Reels and long form YouTube videos and stuff like that. So, kudos to a lot of colleges out there who are really being intentional about this stuff. I haven't given the presentation yet, so I won't spoil everything as far as what is getting a lot of organic reach. But here's what I can tell you. What's not getting much organic love across the board, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and both long and short formats, is stuff that has no widespread benefit to anyone else, or at least that's really only relevant for a very small specific audience, like people at the very bottom of your funnel who might be more open to being directly influenced by a commercial or, some sort of promotional piece of content, or people who already attend your school or are alumni. The stuff that just isn't working is stuff that's just too niche for a certain type of person in your core sphere, whatever. So that event recap video, the president giving a random speech somewhere, that drone footage of your campus with a poetic scripted voiceover saying, things like your journey starts here. They were like this really soft voice, like your journey starts here. Or sometimes it's like more authoritative, your journey starts here. That stuff isn't bad. It's just not going to be the stuff that moves the needle in terms of organic reach and engagement, because it's a commercial. People don't go on social video platforms to consume commercials, but we'll talk about some of the ways that type of content is good, is fine. But I just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork of the really self-serving stuff just isn't moving the needle. There are several points I want to make in this episode, and here they are. Number one, you will see growth when you start asking yourself, who is this for? So that's number one, and we'll get more into that in a minute. And then number two is you will see growth if you treat your chosen platform like a business. And we'll get into what I mean by that in a few minutes. But those are the two. I said several points I want to make. There's 2 points, but there's probably other points that we'll make in between the lines here. So let's dive into the who is this for? I saw a post recently in my LinkedIn newsfeed that really got me thinking about this. It was someone that started their post with, quote, exciting news, unquote. And then it was 3 paragraphs or so about like how they got a new client. Like I had to read it again to figure out what was the news that I missed. Like, did I miss something? And then when I realized there was no exciting new or no news that I was excited about, I read it again to figure out where was it that they thought the exciting news was. And then I found it was we got a new client, which made me go, okay, cool for you, but exciting for who? You know, and not that this post was inherently bad. There's nothing wrong with wanting people to share in your excitement about some professional achievement, especially on LinkedIn. I mean, that's where that stuff makes sense. But it just got me thinking about why it didn't excite me and how many organizations and institutions treat content marketing like this across the board. They regularly put out stuff that's exciting for them, and they put a dramatic song underneath it or a poetic voiceover or something. And then, they put some drone shots in there, and then whatever they do to sort of dress it up as trying to come off as exciting for you. It's like the fact that our school is great. Isn't that so exciting? And it's like going back to this LinkedIn post, if I'm not getting a percentage of the money from this new client, or this wasn't like a higher ed business. If I'm not getting a percentage of the money from this new client, or if this new partnership that you've created isn't somehow benefiting me in some significant way, I'm not excited. You got to think like, what does it take to get excited? Really, what does it take to get excited these days? Like, it's funny, like you send a funny reel or something to your spouse that's in the same room, and they respond back with like the laughy face, like 3 laughy face emojis. But you were watching them watch this the whole time, and their face didn't even budge. Like they barely cracked a smile. Because it takes a lot to get excited or to genuinely laugh about something. I mean, I'm turning 40 this year. I don't take my birthday too seriously. My next door neighbor is the exact opposite. She's one of those like birthday week people. Her and her husband go out to a new restaurant 7 nights in a row on her birthday week. She's such a sweetheart. They're both really great. We love them as neighbors. But it's just more of an excuse to have a bunch of date nights and like kind of make it a thing that they look forward to as a married couple. So it's not like she's super stuck on her birthday and everyone has to celebrate her. Everyone knows someone like that, but she gets excited for her birthday. To me, my birthday is a slightly elevated good day. I'm a generally happy guy, usually in a decent mood. I'm not depressed or anything. It's not like I'm depressed and that's why, I'm getting older and I don't really get down about like getting older that much. Unless it's really starting to show. I'm having some low back issues. So in a practical sense, I do get down about it like that. But just because I turned another year, that doesn't really get me down. It's usually just kind of like a whatever. It's a normal day for me. Some people tell me happy birthday on, my Facebook, and, my in-laws text me and stuff like that. And I get money from my parents and my in-laws, and that's nice. I usually don't spend money on myself that much, so I usually buy something fun. But like by and large, it's another day on the calendar, except for turning 40, because I actually am a little bit excited about that. My wife and I are planning a trip, just the 2 of us, to go hiking or something. And we never really get to do that kind of thing. I like sort of more adventurous vacations. And adventurous vacations are a little bit different when you have kids with you. It's a little harder. It becomes about the kids. So I am excited for me and Laura to just go hiking somewhere in the mountains and just talk and stuff, because I love walking. I don't know if you love walking. I love going for walks around my neighborhood and just looking at stuff, and it just is inspiring, gives me new ideas. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So back to the LinkedIn post. So from my perspective, I wouldn't even couch my 39th birthday in the exciting category. Like, you're telling me that your news of getting a new client is more remarkable than my 39th birthday was. I mean, think about the last time you got like really genuinely excited. It was probably because something benefited you dramatically. There was a spike of emotion that you felt. You booked a vacation, you got a raise, you got a promotion, you got called on stage on The Price is Right and got to spin the wheel. The guy you have a crush on texted you back and he used the red heart emoji, not the purple one, because the purple one's for friends. Red is for more than friends. If you didn't know that, you should probably start implementing that knowledge. All of that is because your life suddenly experienced a spike of improvement. You, the recipient of this information or the event, got a dopamine spike. And I don't get the same dopamine spike about someone else's dopamine spike. But let's be honest, there is a small group of people that would be excited by that type of news. Your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your siblings, your close friends, all of those people. Are those the people that you want to excite? Maybe send them a text or post it on Facebook. Don't cause your audience to tune you out by failing to deliver on the expectations of excitement that you set with your piece of content. Not that that's bad, but if that's kind of your regular approach to content, which in this case, this is not their regular approach. I just kind of zeroed in on this post and I was like, why am I not excited? And why is this kind of irking me a little bit? But on LinkedIn, I go to benefit me. I go on there to make new connections that benefit my life or even to help someone else. And that has no real benefit to me, but because that makes me feel good that I made a difference for someone. Like, I love that. I like to give, not just receive, but in a lot of ways, it's like, whether giving or receiving, it benefits me because it spikes my emotions. It makes me feel good. And I go on to engage in thoughtful conversations and learn new insights about things that I care about. I collect things that I want to share in my newsletter with my audience, which, by the way, you should go sign up for. Unveild.tv/newsletter. Unveild is spelled Unveild. And then, but that's the stuff I go on LinkedIn for, right? And according to a poll posted by Jamie Hunt, former CMO at Old Dominion University. She just went out on her own, started a consulting company. So she's no longer there. Let me pull this up here. Okay. She posted a poll. As of today, May 23rd is the day that I'm recording this. 254 people have voted on this poll. And the poll is, what type of content do you most like to see others post on LinkedIn? And the options were thoughts and insights, professional accomplishments, personal accomplishments, and news about their employer. So 85% of the 254 votes chose thoughts and insights. Again, stuff that benefits them, stuff that helps them grow. Number 2, 12% was professional accomplishments. Number 3, with 2%, was news about their employer, and number 4 was personal accomplishments. That was 1%. I don't even know. Maybe one person voted for that or something. I don't know if you can get a 1% from 0 people voting, but it's like very far down there. So personal and professional accomplishments are very low. 85% go on this platform to benefit themselves. So that's LinkedIn. Right? You go over to YouTube. I want to talk a little bit about video now. You go over to YouTube and the pattern is the same. The top performing YouTube content is stuff that benefits other people, and more specifically, a broader range of other people, not just stuff that would be worth watching for your friends and family or someone who's already pretty invested in your school. In other words, it's not the commercials for your college. In fact, I had a really hard time finding a commercial campaign, like a 30-second spot or something like that had any significant organic reach behind it. It's lots of paid views. I mean, you can find tons of college commercials that have like 500,000 views. And you might look at that on the surface and go, wow, this is viral. But you look and its comments are turned off, or there's 0 comments. And I believe that people turn off the comments so that you can't actually see that this has no engagement to it. So that's all paid reach. People didn't watch it because it was interesting or relevant content. They watched it because you paid for it to show up in front of their faces, just like you would on TV. Now, commercials have their place. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them. But I couch those as something separate from content marketing and growing a YouTube channel or an Instagram channel and building a following of raving fans. or a following of prospective students who are really strongly considering your school. Commercials for TV, YouTube, pre-roll ads, Facebook ads, all that stuff is a super important part of a well-rounded lead generation, system. And those are the times where you should talk about you. Like, it makes sense. Like, give me the features and benefits. Why should I care? How does this help me? What's the problem you're going to solve? Tell me point blank. A great example of this is I'm part of an accountability program that I pay for every month called Commit Action. And it's for entrepreneurs to set goals for themselves. And they have a weekly call with an accountability coach, and you just set quarterly, yearly, and then weekly goals. And then we're just making sure that we're hitting these. So this podcast, any of my content, so much of what I do would not be where it is today without this accountability coach. I pay a lot of money per month for this. And you know how I found them? A random Facebook ad that popped up in my newsfeed that was just like, boom, like, this is what we do. This is the problem we solve. This is how it's going to benefit you, So like, it wasn't like some long blog article that got me. It was like, I just happened to be looking. In fact, the day before, I had written out goals, like long-term goals for myself, and spent like a bunch of time thinking about, where is it that I want to take Unveiled? What is it that I want to be doing? And the next day I'm drinking my coffee at the breakfast table and I get fed this ad and I'm like, let's go. So commercials are great and they have their place, but content's different. A content strategy helps other people get better. You may say, well, our school helps people get better, so we got to talk about it all over our YouTube page. No, your content is not the product. Your content is the bait to interest people in discovering your product. So your content needs to make a light bulb go off in someone's head or spike their dopamine in some way, like maybe that's entertaining them or making them laugh. Leave them with something useful that they can remember or that's worth sharing with others. That's a good barometer. Is like, is this piece of content, this video, this Facebook post, this blog, is some reader going to come along and share this with their broad audience? And that would be applicable to a lot of people in their audience. Like, that's content that spreads. It's like that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not just for this really, really niche audience of someone that's like really ready to buy at your school or something like that. And you should have content for that. But I'm just saying, like, by and large, the stuff that's, there's a difference between like what's a tool for getting to someone to convert and what's content at the top of the funnel that's going to really spread awareness of your school. Both are important in your content strategy, but the growth, the social following growth happens more, I think, at the top of the funnel, where the content is relevant to a larger number of people than people that just already go to your school or are alumni or are really seriously looking at your college on their short list of colleges. So should you never have any self-promoting content on your YouTube page or your Instagram page? No. But if that's your idea of a solid content strategy, you're missing the point. You're wasting a lot of people's on your team's time and the school's budget. Now, here's another truth about YouTube. Let's just zero in on YouTube for a second. There are two types of people. People that treat YouTube with great intention and they're actively doing things to encourage subscriber growth. And then there are people who use YouTube as sort of a storage shelf for content they can access later to send to someone. And if maybe a stranger happens upon it in their search query, cool. Truth be told, like, I'll be totally honest, I'm the second one. LinkedIn is where I give all my effort. I'm really intentional about LinkedIn because that makes the most sense for my business, but it might not make sense for your institution. But everything else for me is secondary, at least it's a fun experiment. Like, YouTube mostly is where I house episodes of this podcast. And it's more of a tool for creating a link that I can share. It's like a hosting area where now I have a link that I can share and I can send this around and repurpose and whatever. But I'm not necessarily trying to obtain subscribers on YouTube. I really don't even pay attention to my subscriber count that much. So I'm the second one. Or maybe it's like TikTok. TikTok right now I'm kind of experimenting with on the Higher Ed Storytelling University TikTok, starting to experiment with like using trending sounds and like getting away from just posting snippets from this podcast and like start to have fun with like, using templates and using trending sounds and just like creating like funny, entertaining stuff that is relevant to a higher ed marketing audience. But that's not like, I'm not paying attention really to my TikTok growth. I do like to experiment though with like, oh, did this resonate? Oh, cool. That got more. Maybe I'll do more like that. Like, it's a fun experiment. But if you are the second type of person, like this certain platform is just kind of an afterthought for you, meaning like if you're the second type of person on all platforms, like every platform is sort of a half-hearted lobbing of content over the fence, then I would argue you don't have a content strategy, and maybe you don't even need one. Does everyone have to make TikToks and reels every day to be successful? Do you have to post blogs all the time? Do you have to keep up with X/Twitter or Threads or whatever it is and just keep jamming content down people's throat every day? No. If you don't like doing that, or if it's just not how you attract people to your school, then keep lobbing stuff over the fence as long as it's low effort. Like I like to think about certain acts of content creation as a slot machine. Very low effort to pull that lever, but it's a lever that you can pull repeatedly, because it's maybe like an output of a system, a content system or something. Like for me, it's snippets from this podcast. They'll go up on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels, and it's just a lever that I pull. It's just part of our workflow with my team. And if one hits, cool, awesome. But that's not really the point. So that's kind of like this slot machine approach, and that's fine. Like there are going to be things in your content workflow that are just like a slot machine. Like we don't care so much about this, but we're just going to keep pulling this lever, and if something hits, cool. And then maybe if something really hits, we'll pay more attention to that. But if as long as it's low effort, it's like if someone gets something out of it, cool. Or otherwise it's a tool for housing videos or blog articles that I can link to when I want to directly send to another person. But that's fine. But the colleges and universities that have like 75,000 followers or subscribers and up tend to take a different approach and be more like the first type of person that I mentioned. They're actively thinking, what is resonating and how can we do more of that? And this is how you treat a content creation platform like a business. Some businesses start up, catch fire, a market for their product just appears, people just start buying it, and then they kind of figure it out after the fact who their buyers are. And they just take off and ride off into the sunset of success. And if you buy that person's course on how to start a 6-figure business in 3 months and 30x your growth and whatever, they'll tell you that if you follow the steps that they followed, you'll succeed. What they won't acknowledge is how much of that is luck. In the same way, some people can lob a video over the fence or a tweet or a blog post and it goes viral and they're a superstar influencer now, and that's mostly luck. There's a really good book that I'm reading right now called Fooled by Randomness. And I don't have the book on me to tell you the author. Oh, here it is. Fooled by Randomness, The Hidden Role of Chance in Life and in the Markets by, I don't know if this is pronouncing his name right, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Sorry, Nassim, if I pronounced your name wrong. But I love you. You wrote a good book. So the whole book is just about like the role of chance, and like the people that think that they had everything to do with the success because they follow these certain steps. This book looks at what actually was just a roll of the dice here. Anyway, tangent. All right, but back to the point here. Most businesses are not like that. They're not instant overnight successes. They're a daily grind and constant small bits of improvement that add up over time. Paying attention to what your customer wants, what they need to hear, what motivates them, where are they in the buying process, what do they need at that time in order to move closer to a purchase decision. You make small improvements over time. You build systems to make processes easier. That's what business is like for 99% of entrepreneurs. And that's how you should be treating social media and content platforms. It's all customer centric. So if there's a platform you want to be really serious about, you got to stop treating it like a brochure for your college and start to experiment with content that benefits your audience and causes them to spread that content even further. Intriguing lectures on niche topics, answering people's curiosity about a particular question, making information or research entertaining, telling stories, actually good, compelling stories told in a remarkable way. I'm not talking about the stuff that you couch as stories that are just some student on camera saying, I always wanted to be a engineer and I went to this engineer college and it was great, 5 stars, would recommend, and then boom, the URL to enroll or something like that. That's not a story. I'm talking about actually good, compelling narratives told in a remarkable way. Now, here's just a free piece of advice here. Let's look at these intriguing lectures. They don't even have to be that interesting. You'd be surprised how many, in my research I'm doing for this presentation, there's a lot of really boring lectures that are like an hour and a half long that have like 500,000 views and tons of, like 1,000 comments and tons of likes and stuff like that. And that's because it's a niche lecture sharing some research or something remarkable with a niche community. And that's great. It's not just about creating stuff that like everyone would like. That's definitely like not what I'm trying to say here. But there's a large population. There's people that are interested in, I know nothing about engineering, but we'll just keep rolling with this example. Some sort of specific type of engineering technique. And here's some new findings on how to be successful with that technique. There's gonna be a lot of people that are really interested in that, and then they're gonna associate your brand with that knowledge. So yeah, I mean, just to tell you, like, it doesn't have to be tons of animation all over the place and stuff like that. Like, point a camera at something interesting, like someone saying something that is going to be novel information for a certain group of people that you're trying to target. So anyway, ask yourself when you're planning this content, who is this for? And is this actually delivering on my promise? Is this largely a commercial for us? Or is it actually exciting or beneficial for anyone besides a very small group of people, like your personal family and friends, or people who already went to the school that are going to be like, yeah, I love my alma mater. Is this actually exciting or beneficial to the people that you are trying to attract? Are you trying to attract pats on the back from alumni? Then cool, do that. But if you're trying to attract prospective students, that message that's going to result in pats on the back from alumni is not going to resonate because they are not in the same position in life. They haven't experienced your school. They have different set of questions and needs. So is it exciting? Really? Is it actually exciting? Or are you just excited? Content marketing is not the place to, on a regular basis, go, here's what we're doing. Here's what we accomplished. Here's why we're great. Do that sometimes. Sure. Like maybe 20% of the time. I definitely think like one of the things that I struggle with as a business owner is like, I put out a lot of content. And one of the things I work with my accountability coach is like, at some point you actually do have to tell people what they can buy from you. Like I just get like in this habit of thinking about, I love creating content. And so I just create all this content. And then, every few weeks I have to sort of like tether myself to like, okay, I should like post a LinkedIn post that's like, here's talking about our subscription, model that, of storytelling that we do for colleges. So you do have to do that sometimes. You do have to talk about yourself. Otherwise, it's the content isn't benefiting your bottom line of your institution, of getting butts in classrooms, then it probably isn't the best use of your budget, but so sell your institution, but your content on a whole should be largely focused on what's going to benefit the students you're trying to attract. And if your answer to that is, well, this program will benefit them, you're going about it wrong. So that's kind of my brain dump of thoughts around what colleges should be thinking more realistically about in their content strategy. I think we hear this token advice of know your audience or speak to your audience. We hear that a lot, blah, blah. And it's good advice, right? But it's not always clear what that actually looks like in a content marketing context. Do they want to be entertained? Do they want to be informed? Should I tell them about our cool new program? Yes to all of that, but you got to experiment to find the right mix, to double down on the content that is hitting with your audience and do more of that and do that better and better and better. And then also to balance that with talking about yourself or your school. But be realistic. Understand that most people aren't excited about the things that you're excited about. Understand that most people just don't care, aren't thinking about your school, aren't going out of their way to find out about your school, to consume content from your school, what you're doing, what event you just had, the scripted little address to the camera that your president is reading off a teleprompter that's written to try to sound inspiring. Like, when you realize that most people just don't give a crap about that stuff, it forces you to find the leverage points where your time spent making content is actually creating observable growth. So that's all I have for you today. See you in a couple of weeks. But next up in a couple of weeks on the podcast, we have Dr. Sheena Howard. She wrote a book called Academic Branding, a step-by-step guide to increased visibility, authority, and income. And she is the founder of Power Your Research, a academic branding company that works with tenured professors and PhDs to help them get their research out there, build a following. It should specifically teach you how to land a TEDx talk, how to monetize your community, how to get more eyeballs on your school through your the professors, talks and content and stuff like that. So it's going to be a really great episode. We're really going to gear it towards marketing directors and CMOs that really want to use professors as a point of leverage for content growth and help them, because when you help them build a following, you're going to see a return on people wanting to enroll at your school and talking about your school in a positive way and things like that. So come back in a couple weeks and check that out. But until then, see you later. Thanks. Thanks for listening. 3 things I want to give you before you go. Number 1, reminder to sign up for my free weekly newsletter, all about creating content that resonates emotionally with your audience. And you can do that at unveild.tv/newsletter. Unveiled is spelled Unveild. Number 2, if you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone. Share it with your team, your boss, your dog, whatever. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love for you to do that. Number 3, reach out to me. If you have comments, questions, you want to talk about a video project, whatever, my email is john@unveild.tv. John is spelled John, or follow me on LinkedIn. If you're searching for me, my last name is spelled Azoni. That's all for today, and I look forward to catching you on the next episode of the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast. Thanks.